Chapter 8. Dave was stunned. His who? His son-in-law. Big gun nut, according to the news. They're still looking in the rubble for the remains. Thanks, said Dave, blood pounding in his ears. He turned and walked away, trying to look nonchalant. He stepped in to pick up his backpack and heard a voice. Shoo! Get out of here, you hobo! Dave turned to see a large woman wielding a straw broom. You heard me. Shoo! We don't want hobos around here. I'm not a hobo, ma'am, said Dave. I'm just passing through. You just keep... Don't I know you? You're Sandy's husband, aren't you? Why are you hoboing? Lose your job? No, ma'am. I just came down to get my in-laws. I knew that wasn't you when I heard it. You're a nice boy, always shoveling my walks when it snows. Not like my lazy, good-for-nothing son. Doesn't even call me when it snows. Yes, ma'am, that was me, said Dave. You look hungry. You hungry? Not really, ma'am. I need to get going. Where is your car? Where are you going? The police took my car, Dave told her. I'm walking to New Hampshire. That's ridiculous, young man. Take my car. You can bring it back when this is all over. I can't do that, said a surprised Dave. I might never get it back to you. I don't care. I can't drive since they took my license away. It's got gas in it. You never let me pay you for all those times you plowed for me. Take the car as payment. Dave didn't know what to say. He offered her money, but she declined. I've got enough of that, young man. I get plenty of food, too. I tell them my Harold is still alive, but bedridden. They give me double rations, she ended with a cackle. She certainly looked like she got double rations. So here, let me get the keys. And she turned and went into the house. Dave drove straight to Bill's house. Billy had a house in an older neighborhood with large backyards and old tall hedges. He pulled the Dodge Dart into the backyard and parked near the barbecue pit. He looked all over it for a hidden compartment or some clue as to what to do next. After searching for 10 minutes, he paused to look the fireplace over. Constructed of bricks covered in granite paving stones, it was really an outdoor fireplace. Chimney, grill, stone blocks for a base. The base. Dave went to the front of the grill and dug around the large flat stone that the fire burned on. He dug with his hands for a minute, then went to the shed and after a brief search found a length of iron water pipe and an old shovel. Clearing away the wood, ash, and cinders from the large paving stones, he dug up the front of one, exposing the lip. He pried that up and then the others, finding sand beneath. He struck the sand with the shovel, but it only went a few inches before striking something hard. Clearing the sand away, he found another layer of 1-inch thick pavers. He dug those up and exposed what looked like a cesspool cover. Preparing to gag, Dave pried up the cement cover and found a plastic sealed opening. He cut away the plastic. He smelled nothing like what he expected. He went to the car and retrieved his LED flashlight from the pack. Returning to the opening, he removed the red lenses and turned on the light. He saw rebar steps leading down to a small chamber filled with plastic wrapped packages. Slowly climbing down the steps, he shined the light around. Whew-wee, he whistled. Cases of MREs, boxes of ammunition, long trunks he assumed contained rifles were visible under the plastic wrapping. He approached the closest pile, what looked like 2 steamer trunks elevated from the cement floor by 2 pallets. He saw a plastic freezer bag taped to the top. Opening it, he saw it was a list of the box's contents. He went down the list. Civilian clothes, first aid items, shoes. Moving around the cellar, he read more. Feminine hygiene items, rice, a bicycle, and finally, one that said FAL rifle and equipment. Dave whipped out his spider coat and cut open the heavy plastic sheeting. Underneath was a black plastic-looking case and 2 long plastic food containers duct taped to it. Under that were 2 .50 caliber sized ammo cans and 1 .30 caliber sized one. He cut off the duct tape and laid the long case on top of the steamer trunks. Undoing the latches, he opened the case to reveal a camouflage-painted L1A1 rifle. He recognized it, having built it in his own shed. Bill had fallen in love with it, so Dave sold it him for the cost of his parts, immediately building another just like it. Dave had hoped it was this rifle when he saw the tag. It was built on an M-Bell receiver with an inch parts kits. In deference to Dave's preference, it had a metric magazine release and took metric magazines. Dave had built it in accordance with the law of the day, with U.S.-made fire control parts, gas piston, hand guards, pistol grip, and buttstock. Looked like Bill had been busy, though. The muzzle brake had been replaced with a Vortex flash hider. The sling he had put on it was rolled up in the corner of the case, and the rifle was coated in grease. He closed the case and placed it near the ladder. He opened the first plastic container. In it was a Makarov, 4 magazines, a box of hollow point ammo, 1 of ball, a leather holster, a nylon holster, 2 USGI ammunition pouches, and a small pair of binoculars. The second container contained an STG-58 cleaning kit, a stripper clip guide for FAL mags, a GI ammo pouch with 2 empty FAL mags in it, and a woodland camouflage nylon chest pouch with room for 8 magazines, as well as 2 smaller ones for pistol mags or similar sized objects. Dave set these items aside too. Opening the ammo cans, he found them full of 7.62 ammo on stripper clips. The .30 caliber ammo can contained 10 20-round FAL magazines. Dave was elated. He moved the boxes one at a time out of the dim hole and put them in Bill's shed. There, he opened up a can of white gas and cleaned the rifle of its protective layer. He cleaned each magazine and then loaded them from the stripper clips. As he opened the second can, he found under the bandoliered ammo, there were 3 boxes of soft point .308 and a handful of loose rounds with black tips. Dave dutifully unloaded 5 mags and loaded 2 with 20 rounds each of soft points and the 38 rounds of armor piercing he had. Dave placed the 2 mags of armor piercing in the rightmost pouch of his chest rig and 2 mags of soft points in an ammo pouch, which he would later attach to the left side of his waist belt. He cleaned out the Makarov and loaded it up and put it aside to later attach to his waist belt on the right. He put 3 50-round bandoliers in his pack. Dave then returned all of the extra equipment, boxes, and ammo cans to the subterranean cache. He looked around once more to see what else he might need. Not seeing an ultralight or a Star Trek transporter, he could think of nothing else. He did find a tube of silicone sealant and used that and some of the plastic from the rifle case to reseal the opening. He'd have to talk to Bill. That guy was serious about his cache. Dave had seen everything Bill had brought up when he bugged out and decided he must have inherited money somewhere to buy all that he did. He then rebuilt the fireplace and did his very best to return it to its previous condition. He even scooped up some old doggy droppings from around the yard and threw them on top to make it looking there more unpalatable for the fed goons. Dave's work had carried him well past sunset. He loaded the car, adjusted the chest rig, and put the Makarov under his thigh on the seat. The L1A1 was placed next to him, covered in his flannel shirt. He wasn't going to jail. War had been declared, as far as he was concerned. Dave took back roads as far as the Massachusetts border. He then abandoned the car at a public transportation park and ride bus area that was basically deserted. He left the doors unlocked and the keys in it, wishing luck to whoever used it next. Tightening up his pack straps, he settled the comforting weight of the FAL over his shoulders on its assault sling and headed down the embankment into the woods. Dave had long planned several bug-out routes from his home. He had routes for cars, bikes, and a partial escape route down a river into neighboring Rhode Island, where he had a few friends who would help him. He had 3 routes for walking north. The one he chose took him east of Worcester, Massachusetts, west around the I-495 corridor, and up through the countryside to New Hampshire. The largest danger area was the Massachusetts Turnpike, Interstate 90, which ran due west from Boston to Albany, New York. He had driven and walked much of the route, trying to determine where good places to travel were, and noting new housing developments as they sprouted up, which was often. He identified 3 areas where he thought he could cross the highway without detection and was headed to the most likely one. He only had to reach the New Hampshire border. Once in New Hampshire, there were several maintained hiking trails that plugged straight into the northern part of the country. He crossed the border in a rainstorm, choosing to move in the dark and in bad weather, as he would stand less of a risk of being spotted. 2 more nights of uneventful travel brought him to the base of a large pine tree overlooking the turnpike.